Hello, Gentlemen Critics Nation. We're back and we're here to talk about Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 2. Now, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. This was a huge episode, and of course, as always, spoiler alert. We're going to talk about a lot of details and very specific things. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, get out now. And I will hand this off to Jesse. Jesse,
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I can't contain my emotions right now. I mean, it's the first thing I want to talk about, and I kind of just want to get into it.
Okay, jump right into it.
I kind of just want to jump into this news. If you watched the episode, you know Jon Snow is fucking back. He's back. Use my language. He's back. I don't know how to feel. I feel like I have faith in the humanity of Westeros once again. I lost faith. I lose faith about like once or twice a season, but then I regain it by the end when something really cool happens on Game of Thrones. But it's only episode 2. I lost my faith and I regained it. I don't know. It's awesome. I felt like it was either going to happen at the last minute when Jon Snow comes back, or it wasn't going to happen at all. It was huge, but it did. The color came back to his body, like you mentioned, Kyle, previously, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. How do you feel about this? How do you feel?
Okay, well, this episode was just one of the great examples of why Game of Thrones is so good. They did so many things that a normal television show would not do. And you never bring the character back in episode 2 of the season. That's a finale level event.
Really though.
And they brought him back in me and Jesse were watching this episode. I kept saying, "Stop playing with us." I was getting very mad at the show because they kept just leaving silent, just stills of Jon Snow laying there on the table, and I'm just watching it like, oh, if he's gonna wake up, okay?
Just do it already.
This episode was amazing. I'm so happy Jon's back. I never believed he was dead. I never believed he was dead.
Yeah, we were all on the fence about that. We were just like, if he's dead, that will be so terrible. But if he's not, when is he gonna bring him back? We don't know. But it happened in episode 2, which is crazy.
The Night's Watch.
Crazy.
I can begin to care about the Night's Watch again.
Yes.
And I now feel like before, if we look at Westeros in the grand scheme, especially if you look in the north, when the White Walkers are going to roll through, we got the Boltons who are shakily holding on to the north. Like a lot of things we saw involved them in this episode as well. And sort of how Ramsey is further rocking the boat of the Boltons' hold on the north. So I thought, without Jon on the wall, there's no way that they're actually going to be able to stop these White Walkers in any way. But now I feel confident moving forward that Jon's back, that he knows. Jon knows what they have to do.
I totally agree. I totally agree. He's been face first with the king of the undead army of the White Walkers. Come at me, bro. That's pretty much what the king was giving him. And he knows firsthand. He's like the true person who knows what's coming, as he's seen it, especially on the Night's Watch, because he stared that right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the man. He's the one who's got to defend us. He could be the ice of the Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah,
that could be a thing.
Yeah.
That's just a theory. But if that was the theory, he was the ice and there was the fire, I would be completely happy with it. I would be happy. So
it's so great to be in a position now going into season 6 that we're catching up with the books, because now we're finally coming full circle. Now all of us Game of Thrones fans are starting to be on the same page.
I think the books are. I think we're past the books frankly. I think we're completely past it.
Are we completely past it?
I think we are. I think the end of season 5 was the end of it, I feel. And at least that's what I've heard, but then again, I could be wrong. We might have to research that. But as far as I know, I think we are past the books.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't read the book, so I'm not sure.
yeah,
Uh,
really though.
when I look at it, I think that I'm just glad that we brought everybody together now. And now, if you do like to read the books, that's great. But this is where it's at. Okay,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is an HBO television series above all else now. That is
Yes.
that is the legacy that Game of Thrones is leaving. And from judging by the first 2 episodes, this season is going to be so amazing.
So good. It's already starting off great. The
It's
first
already
episode.
it's already honestly that episode that we just watched was to me about as good as the best episode you could have imagined on season 5. That was just excellent. It
Oh
was
yeah.
excellent on all fronts.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's already transcending season 5. Season 5 was just such a roller coaster. It was
Hmm.
kind of like the downfall when you kind of need to pick that back up from not the show, but kind of everything that's just happening in Westeros. And so we're kind of bringing it back up. But if we're going to talk about more things, but that thing with Jon Snow was amazing. But we start off the episode, and we have a first like major flashback that I
Yes.
think we've ever seen in the entire show. We went back to Ned Stark as a child and
Yes.
Benjen and Lyanna. The first time we ever see anything of Lyanna in
Hmm.
the entire show.
Now I think that Lyanna is definitely Jon Snow's mother, and I think that Jon Snow is
Hmm.
half Targaryen, half Stark. And this is the first time we've ever actually seen her. Now, maybe these visions are going to be a way that they can teach us more and more about sort of Jon Snow's past.
Mm.
I'm not sure. There's so many things they can do with
Yeah, if we
this
see
new
more of that.
idea. It's
Yeah.
this whole concept that they've now involved with Braun that he can sort of watch the past
Oh,
is so it's so interesting, and they can play with that in so many ways. Which obviously we have to talk about. Hodor was not always Hodor.
no, he wasn't. He was Willis.
Yeah, Willis. He
Willis.
seemed like a normal kid, just a really big guy, and very
What happened
interesting.
to him?
Yeah, now that's something that they're gonna have to teach us about. So clearly, we're not done seeing these flashbacks and visions from the past, which I like because it was
Yeah.
really, really cool, and it was an immediate way to hook me into the episode. When you drop a Ned Stark bomb at the
Oh.
beginning of an episode, I am immediately hooked. I mean, that's the reason we all watched season 1 and got
Oh
into Game of
yes.
Thrones was for Ned, and
Oh
then,
yes.
then we fell in love with everybody along the way, and that was really cool to see. I really look forward to seeing a lot more of that from Braun and just his development overall.
Yeah, it's really interesting the three-eyed raven everything because we didn't see him at all in season 5, and now he's back. He's grown up a few years.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. Like maybe not a lot of people were completely on board, but I'm completely on board
Yeah,
for
yeah.
what is gonna happen next with Bran. All this training, it's got to mean something.
Yes.
Got to mean
Well, he's
something.
got to warg a dragon at some point.
When that day comes, all us Game of Thrones fans, man, will just be slightly more entertained than we have during the entire other rest of the series. Slightly more because the show is just amazing, whatever the heck they give us. So I don't know, but other than that, what else happened? It's two deaths, two somewhat kind of major deaths. Roose Bolton, Ramsey's father, killed by his own son. There's a lot of sons who just want to kill their fathers in
Now,
this show.
I want to talk about this. Now I want to make it very clear. I do not like Ramsey, okay? But I love watching him because he's extremely entertaining and he keeps me guessing. And this episode is a perfect example of that. it's of why I like his character, because just when you think that you understand him and sort of how he feels towards his father and his family, he just goes and flips it on its head again, killing his father and then feeding his brother to dogs.
Oh, this guy
When
is
when you think
yeah.
that he can't get crazier, he gets crazier. And
Yeah.
that I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what he does next.
He is the new Joffrey, but not really.
I hated Joffrey. I didn't enjoy watching
He was,
Joffrey.
yeah, he was not entertaining. He was just
He
horrible.
was just a horrible person on all
Yeah.
fronts.
Yeah, there was nothing good. Ramsey is just like crazy, but kind of in a fun way.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort
So
of, I've said it before, and I've compared him to the Joker, but he really does. Ramsey reminds me of a Batman villain.
it's a
It just feels so crazy and messed up psychologically, but kind of brilliant.
yeah, it's a good comparison. Just not somebody you want to be you want to like look up to.
For sure, I definitely do not look up to Ramsey Bolton.
Yeah. Other than that, Balon Greyjoy, the king of, I guess, Pike,
Yes, the
also
Iron
died
Islands.
by some kind of unknown person who's
The
also
Salt
a
King died,
Greyjoy.
man. Well, we learned a lot about who this unknown person is. We know now that this is a much younger, so version, well, not version. This is a much younger brother.
Yeah.
So at some point along whatever had happened when the Iron Islands fought the North when they fought Ned Stark, and then the North ended up busting into the Iron Islands and killing a lot of his sons.
Yeah.
Apparently, that family was rather large, and those events sort of disbanded the power of the Iron Islands. And from what I could gather in that scene, this brother was, I assume, took couple ships and crew and left. He left
Yeah.
the Iron Islands, and he sailed over across the Narrow Sea. And so now people fear him, and there's rumors surrounding him, and it's been a long time since he's returned, and now he's back, and clearly he understands the law of the Iron Islands. So he killed him in order to make a play at the throne. So now it's going to be Theon's sister trying to become the new king. We're gonna have the former king's brother, and Theon's going to be returning. The
Theon.
real king of the
Oh.
Iron Islands, who is going to probably win the king.
Finally, some very interesting stuff happening in Pike.
Yes.
It's always been kind of interesting, but not that interesting. It's now becoming a major storyline in this arc. Theon is coming back. We did see that. He
Mm.
did tell Sansa he's returning home. And so there's three people. Also, the statements that the brother of Balon was making, like what did he say? He was a god at some point.
Yeah. This guy
Who
is
knows?
clearly lost it a little bit out here, thinking he's the storm or he is the drowned god.
Like, yeah, he is the drowned god, he says. He so
I
many
think that
things.
together, Theon and his sister will find out that he is the one who killed the king, and maybe his sister might die, maybe not, but I think Theon is the one who's going to reclaim his father's throne.
I mean, why keep him around so long if you don't have big plans with him, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah,
Brienne of Tarth has already been making some waves.
yeah, yeah.
And now Theon may be the new king of the Iron Islands.
I'm
That would
so I feel so God. Speaking of Brienne of Tarth and Theon, I'm so glad Jon is back now because I was so worried about Sansa. I was like, don't go to the wall.
don't do it.
It's a bad place where they will probably kill you. But now Jon's back, and the
John
wildlings are gonna be. He can hold. Everything is back to the hope that I had when Jon returned with all those wildlings at the end of season 5. All of that hope is back. When it comes to Jon Snow being brought back, it does feel like there was a plan there, and they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were going to bring him back in episode 2 of season 6.
Yeah.
They knew that. And they played with us. They knew that we would know he was coming back, but we also would none of us were ever going to guess he's going to come back in episode 2.
Very
So
true.
this was really a well thought out plan, and like I said earlier, it's just a great example of how they do things differently in this show.
Yeah, yeah, very true. You hit the nail on the head right there. This show is amazing. I am so excited for season 6 and to continue for this to continue. I'm so excited.
Now we have to talk about Tyrion. The balls
Yes,
on this guy.
the balls of this guy. He is something else. This is why we watch Game of Thrones.
This little man is braver than I will ever be as he walks down into a basement full of dragons and then just lets them out of their collars, lets them off the leash.
He doesn't even care. No shame.
No shame.
No shame. Oh,
Man.
so he lets the dragons off the chains. We don't know what's gonna happen. I thought he was gonna walk in there. They were gonna spit fire at him. He was gonna walk out of Targaryen. I literally thought that was gonna happen, but that's probably never gonna happen. He's
Yeah, I
probably
don't think
not
he's a Targaryen.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's like if
He
the
kind
only
of killed his mom in childbirth, who was a Lannister.
or Targaryen, we do not know.
No, dude, Lannisters only get with other Lannisters.
I don't know. Did Tywin follow that exact same
No, I
thing?
mean
I
maybe
don't
the
think
apple
so.
didn't fall far from the tree. Who knows?
I don't know, man. I feel Tywin was pretty like, oh, that couldn't happen.
He didn't seem all that shaken by the news.
I don't know, man. Like he probably knew. He probably didn't.
He
Who knows?
probably had his suspicions. I mean, they were his kids. When he heard
it's a very
heard
common
the rumor,
thing,
he was
you know.
probably like, "Damn, yeah, that's definitely true."
That makes sense. Yeah, Jaime and Cersei.
Damn, that's disgusting.
Yeah, man. Ever since they were kids, man, just going at it. I couldn't even help it.
I would have been so disgusted with my children. But that's the real thing of Game of Thrones. It happens in episode 1, and we always come back to it. That is the true essence of what Game of Thrones is the incest between Jaime and Cersei. It's what drives the show forward.
It's the best storyline. It's been with us since the beginning, and we all feel comfort when we
Yes.
see Jaime and Cersei in a room together about to get it on.
Speaking of comforting storylines, Arya passed the test.
She passed.
Still blind, but she passed.
We don't know what's going on. She passed. She gonna be an assassin. Who knows? It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be awesome. It is gonna be awesome. There's so much I want to keep talking about with Game of Thrones, but honestly, I'm just really excited for episode 3.
Episode 3. I don't know
wait.
how they're gonna top this episode 2, but it's Game of Thrones. It's very possible.
Melisandre finding some faith again.
Yeah, since she finally did it, her magic works.
Yes.
It's very possible. So that's good. She, it stirs her faith in humanity herself. It stirs our faith in humanity. Long live Jon Snow, the true king in the North.
Yes,
if
the
you
Lord
ask me.
Commander.
Yeah,
if Jon Snow was the commander of the Night's Watch, I would join the Night's Watch.
I would join the Night's Watch. Yeah,
But
I would.
If he was the commander.
I would go all Brienne of Tarth in that situation and swear to protect him.
You would pledge your sword.
I would pledge my sword. I would pledge my sword to that man.
Would a tear fall when he said the faithful words like "There will always be a place next to my hearth"?
Like
and
a tear
eat
would
at my
fall from
table.
me. I would be so happy. I'd be like, wow, like you're the man. Okay, it's kind of like Brienne to Renly. It's just a whole thing.
You just got to try to do a better job of protecting him from demon shadow children.
Hey man, you can't.
Than she did to Renly.
You can't. You have no idea when those demon smoke clouds are coming to get you. You have no idea.
I love that we got a reference to that in this episode, and I love that Davos is like, look, I watched you give birth to a shadow. I don't care. Like, you can do it.
You can
Okay?
do it,
Like,
okay?
I saw some crazy things.
If you can have a demon smoke cloud baby, you can bring John back to life. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Oh. Well, I guess that's pretty much everything that happened. I mean, Tommen obviously,
Yeah.
came back and reconnected with his mother.
I mean, it was the
Franken
most
Mountain
boring.
is marching around killing people with, just by shoving their faces into walls.
Yeah, Frankenmount. Jamie is PO'd.
At this point, I honestly don't care about King's Landing simply because I feel like just none of it matters right now.
It's the first time where like everything else in the world is more interesting than what's happening at King's Landing.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, I don't want them to stop showing me King's Landing, but it's weird to feel that. But we have to acknowledge that King's Landing is not really where the pivotal storylines are
No, I
heading
mean,
these
yeah.
days.
I mean, if Tyrion's gone, I
Yeah,
mean,
the
who
moment
cares?
Tyrion left in a box, I think King's Landing has just gone downhill in terms of its entertainment value from
And
there.
with the High Sparrow and everything that we don't like coming from them, it's not an interesting place to be right now. Where we
I think
like,
that the Franken Mountain is probably one of the more interesting aspects of it,
yeah,
and that really shouldn't be, your big draw. But
yeah.
it's weird because you would think, with King's Landing not being that entertaining, that the show would suffer. But honestly, like you said, every single other thing is amazing and
They're
way
firing on
better.
all cylinders.
Yeah, it's so I forgive 100%. I always forgive Game of Thrones. I've already forgiven them for the way that they showed me Melisandre as an old lady in the last
Yeah,
episode. I've
it's
already forgiven them
forgiven.
for that.
It's forgiven completely for what they've done here.
They
But
know what I want. I'm a Game of Thrones fan, have been since the beginning, and they know what I want to see. And this episode was a perfect example of the
when
kind
something
of thing.
bad happens, they do something like that. It's just
Mhm.
what they do. There's checks and balances.
Yep.
So just what they do with their episodes and themselves. So
Well, we've been Gentlemen Critics, and we've been reviewing season 6, episode 2 of Game of Thrones. We'll be back for episode 3.
see you guys.
See ya.